Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So they finally revealed Supergirl's official costume, so I wanted to do my first Supergirl bonus video. I'm going to do weekly episode videos whenever the show gets here, but they're probably not going to screen the pilot till Comic-Con, and it's not going to debut till the fall, so it's still a long ways off. We do know a lot about the cast already, but I wanted to do a comic book explainer for her history. There's been a lot of different versions of Supergirl, and just like the Flash TV show is combining Wally West and Barry Allen's runs, I think that Supergirl is going to combine a lot of aspects for all the different Supergirls, including the Man of Steel movie, just because of her Kryptonian heritage. So I'll try to explain all that. Just to talk about the costume for a minute. So the TV show is being made by the same people that make Arrow, the Flash spinoff. So the same person that designed Oliver Queen's costume and Barry Allen's designed this one. So the color scheme is very much in the tone of those costumes, but it also flows a lot from Henry Cavill's suit from Man of Steel. And just like on The Flash, this is the first version of her costume, so it'll probably evolve over time, just like they've said that the Flash costume is going to evolve over time. So this is just Supergirl 1.0. So let's talk about Supergirl's origin story in the comics. There's two real big origin stories that I'm going to go with, because on the show, she's going to be Linda Danvers, but the Linda Danvers Supergirl is different from the Kara Zor-El Supergirl. And her name is Kara Zor-El. Linda Danvers is going to be the alias she uses, just like Superman uses Clark Kent. Everybody high five for complicated comic book backstories. Most of you probably know the basics. Supergirl is Superman's Kryptonian cousin. There have been a lot of different people to use the name Supergirl. Most people know about Linda Danvers and Kara Zor-El, but Power Girl is also an alternate reality version of Supergirl. If you haven't read the comics, don't worry, it doesn't matter. Power Girl probably not going to exist on the TV show. It's all thanks to the DC multiverse, which at times they've collapsed and expanded, so the TV show going to streamline all this stuff, make it way simpler to follow. So let's start with the Kara Zor-El Supergirl. She's the first one to appear in the comics. DC naturally wanted a female version of their most popular character. Batman did the exact same thing later. It makes sense. You have a super popular character, you want a female version of them. She was created by Otto Binder and Al Plastino in 1959. Her first issue was Action Comics number 252, which is interesting because that's the same issue that Metallo debuted in, the John Corben Metallo. And also interesting side note, Otto Binder, the writer of that story, also wrote the short story I, Robot that inspired Isaac Asimov's I, Robot short stories that came much, much later. Joss Whedon even said that the Otto Binder short story heavily influenced his take on the Vision in Age of Ultron. So lots of meta, Marvel, DC Comics DNA crossing over. And all of you just heard the name Metallo and you're like, wait, does that mean that he's going to be on the TV show? They haven't confirmed that. Hank Henshaw is the only villain that we know is going to appear in the pilot. I'll explain him later because he has a different origin story that doesn't really cross over with Supergirl, so they're going to have to change a lot of things. So originally, Kara Zor-El was from Argo City. Her home was separated from the planet Krypton when it exploded, and her father Zor-El turned it into this self-contained floating city in space. When an asteroid threatened to destroy it, he sent her into space, just like Superman's father sent him into space. And because they had known that Superman was on Earth, that's where they sent her, so that she could live with one of her kind. So one day, Superman's working in his office, and he sees a spaceship crash, sees that it's a Kryptonian inside, agrees to train her, gives her the fake name Linda Lee, sends her to Midvale to live, and she ends the short story just being like super pumped about getting to go on adventures with Superman and being a superhero. So pretty simple story, or already that sounds just like a pilot. The TV show is going to change some things about this because she's going to use the alias Linda Danvers, and that's like a completely different character in the comics. So here's an explainer on who the Linda Danvers Supergirl is. She's also known as the Matrix Supergirl. So what happened is a Crisis on Infinite Earths killed the Kara Zor-El Supergirl. She died during that. So DC had to get a little timey-wimey with the way it explained the backstory of the new Supergirl that appeared. The Linda Danvers Supergirl started out as the Matrix Supergirl, also a different character. I know, already this is super confusing. So we have to explain Matrix first. The Matrix Supergirl is from an alternate reality pocket universe. In that reality, Superman doesn't exist anymore, but Lex Luthor, who is a good person, he's not evil yet, wants to fight Zod and Faora, who are trying to take over the Earth. So he creates this protoplasmic Matrix character that can shapeshift and has some of the abilities of Superman. Matrix fights Zod, but isn't able to beat him, so Lex sends it to the main DC universe, where Superman is still alive, gets Superman to come back and help defeat Zod, but their Earth is destroyed. The pocket universe Earth is destroyed. So she goes back to the main universe to live forever. That's the story of how Matrix ended up in the main DC continuity. It's like a really weird, complicated backstory. Linda Danvers was originally just a regular human girl. She became Supergirl when she sustained life-threatening injuries and the Matrix tried to heal her by merging with her. So she became the Linda Danvers Supergirl. Much later in the comics, the Linda Danvers Supergirl ended up meeting the Kara Zor-El Supergirl who DC had brought back into the continuity, and they coexisted. So there were like two Supergirls living in the DC universe. But obviously the TV show is going to change that. It's going to like combine those two characters and there'll be one Supergirl. It's just like the Flash TV show combines Wally West stories and Barry Allen stories. In the name of sanity, what they're probably going to do is explain her TV backstory, saying she was rocketed from Krypton, just like Superman was in the Man of Steel movie. Because of timey-wimey space reasons, she didn't land on Earth till much later after Superman. Superman is supposed to have a cameo in the pilot. Really don't know how he's going to appear. He might just appear as Clark Kent. Don't have any confirmation on that, so we'll just wait to see official footage. They'll probably say she was found by the Danvers family and had a similar upbringing to what Superman had with the Kents. In the comics, Linda Danvers' father is a police officer, so already you can kind of see how that might build into some of the procedural aspects of the show, just like a Joe West type character. The impetus of the show is going to be Kara, or Linda, however you want to think about her, learning to fight crime while leading a normal life, doing like the Clark Kent Superman thing. So her father being a Joe West detective type character totally makes sense. Like I said, Supergirl is being made by the same people that make The Flash, so already you can see a lot of the same DNA in the shows. Barry Allen works at the police station. Kara's going to be working for Cat Grant, like the Cat Grant of the DC Comics, so it'll be a little bit different what she does during the day, but at night she'll be fighting crime just like The Flash does. CBS has been really upfront about how the show is going to be more of a procedural, so think of Supergirl as being like The Flash if it played out more like a CSI show. But the tone is going to be very much like The Flash. Very hopeful, very bouncy, daylight, as opposed to Arrow's really dark, gritty, nighttime, HBO wire take. There's a couple things they have confirmed about the pilot. Jimmy Olsen's been cast. He's going to be her love interest. They'll probably both work at Catco. That's the name of the company that Cat Grant owns. Hank Henshaw is the main villain. They've cast her Kryptonian mother. I don't really know how they're going to deal with that. She's not going to have a Fortress of Solitude like Superman has, so we'll see what that looks like. And they've also cast a sister for her, like a Danvers sister in real life. Just to explain Hank Henshaw's backstory in the comics, Cyborg Superman is a great character, great villain of Superman's, but I think they're going to change a few small things about his backstory just to make it work with the Supergirl character. His story is kind of funny. It plays out a lot like Fantastic Four's origin story. He's a NASA astronaut. He and his wife go into space to study solar radiation for LexCorp. They get hit by a solar flare, almost die, return to Earth, but they're heavily modified by this crazy radiation. Superman tries to save them, is able to save Hank Henshaw's wife, but he can't save Hank Henshaw. His mind gets uploaded into the LexCorp database, and he continues living in digital form. Eventually, he reveals himself to his wife. He's like, I didn't die, I'm alive, I'm just, in this machine. She goes crazy, jumps out a window. Hank Henshaw blames Superman and vows revenge. Superman goes on to battle with him. Eventually, Hank Henshaw digitally beams himself into Superman's Kryptonian spaceship and uses it to escape into orbit. While he's traveling through space, he uses Superman's DNA that's left inside the spaceship to create a cyborg body for himself. Thus, he becomes Cyborg Superman. Already you can see they're going to simplify some things about this for the TV show. Like, I don't think we're going to see Cyborg Superman. I do think that we'll see Hank Henshaw die. I think we'll see his wife die. If he's going to be the villain, they have to put him at odds with Supergirl. So something will probably happen to him and his family. Supergirl will try to save him. She'll fail. He'll blame her, and thus he'll become her villain. Here's my big question for you guys. Do you want to see Cyborg Superman become the main villain of season 1? Or do you think it'll be like The Flash, where like the main villain of the pilot dies and then they bring in a bunch of other characters? Cyborg Superman just feels like a really big character, so what they might do is kill him at the end of the pilot and then bring him back later in the series as Cyborg Superman. He might just pop up as a ghost in the machine throughout the series. One of the really big problems with Supergirl stories is that she shares so many characters with Superman that it's hard to pick and choose who gets to be in the movies and who the TV shows get to use. I think DC is cutting them a break and letting them use some Superman characters, but like Lex Luthor, for instance, probably not going to be on the TV show, probably only going to be in the films. Brainiac, though, I think they can totally do Brainiac. If the Flash TV show can do Gorilla Grodd, I think that the Supergirl show can do Brainiac. That means they could also do Bottle City of Kandor, just because Brainiac, Kandor kind of go hand in hand. So I'm going to be doing tons more bonus videos for Supergirl, like my favorite stories from the comics, favorite villains, all kinds of stuff. So be sure to subscribe to get all that stuff. feel free to leave requests too. It took us a while to figure out what was going on with the Flash, so I'm really excited. Hopefully I'll get a chance to see the pilot at Comic-Con. If you guys are at Comic-Con too, you have a pretty good shot at seeing it. While you guys wait for that stuff, you can click here to learn about how the Flash deals with time travel and the Speed Force, and you can click here to learn about Batman Death in the Family. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys tonight. Now let's all do the thing.